Welcome again, everyone. It's my great pleasure to moderate this interesting panel tonight, From Grants to Growth. My panelists, I'd like to ask each of you to quickly introduce yourself. What do you do, and how do you stand in this Grants to Growth journey, I would say? Maybe with you first, Christian?
Yeah, I'm Christian. I'm one of the founders of Evulpo. It's a Swiss startup, an e-learning company, and where I'm standing in this whole journey. So we raised several rounds. The last one was a Series A round, now in August, altogether 20 millions. And so I know the hustle that we have and had with the VCs here on the right side. It's not my VCs, but so probably I can share then some insights.
Yeah. So my name is Christoph. I am the head of startup coaching at Innosuisse. Innosuisse is the national innovation promoter, and we promote innovation in many different ways. Startups are main innovation drivers. One is helping startups with non-dilutive funding, but also with coaching. And as the head of the coaching, we help basically help the startups to develop and scale their company with the help of coaches. And currently we have around 700 science-based startups in our program. And in the journey, rather at the beginning, when you look at the innovation chain, let's say, the traditional innovation chain, rather at the beginning, meaning R&D, product development, but again, when it comes to coaching, not funding, then also later, scaling, also going international.
Okay, I'm Andreas, partner at Alstin Capital. I'm in venture capital since 15 years already. I did a lot of pre-seed and seed financing in the beginning. I joined after that a big French fund and managed their German-speaking business. And I'm now at Alstin Capital since 2.5 years, where it was about like raising a new fund, building a new team, and a lot of tech and support functions and everything, which is a lot of fun to do. We raised a phenomenal fund with 175 million. We can invest in late seed Series A rounds, usually tickets between 2 to 8 million, up to 15 million in total. So this is exactly what we want to do. Like, we want to come in when the startups have a need for growth capital, they want to scale, they have a product, they have revenues, they have first customers, and then we come in with everything we have and help them get to the next stage, the 10, 20, 50 million ARR.
Andrea.
Good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea. I am coming from EquityPitcher Ventures. We are a venture capital firm from Zurich, Binz, and we are investing into B2B startups from the DACH region. We try to combine industry and startups together to create value, and we are invested in 35 companies from Germany and Switzerland, and have raised a couple of funds and are actively investing at the moment also in Series A startups that are very ambitious to grow.
Thank you. Let's start at the beginning of the journey with the grant, Christoph. When is a startup truly ready for venture capital? Can you say, what are your experiences as an experienced Innosuisse coach? And you've seen so many startups coming from that grant scheme to moving into the venture capital world. Can you maybe say a few things? Where do you see sort of the ideal time for this?
Yeah, I think the ideal time is when the startup really knows its market, because that implies that they pretty much have a product market fit. They are ready, as you mentioned. The basic is there, the validation is there, and now it's time to scale. Many of our startups, or the startups that we promote, are rather early. They are still very much in love with their product, still looking for the right application and so on. And basically, yeah, many of them still scientists, and many of them will actually remain scientists. So I think the ones that are ready are really the ones, when you see it in the Q&A sessions, the ones that really have the industry knowledge, the ones that also have the corresponding people in their boards, or in the advisory board, for example, the people that do know how to tackle the market, how to approach them, and now it's really just about replicating things and making it really big, let's say. Yeah. And if we see that, and again, I would round it up as they know their market well, I would say that's the time when they're ready for VC money.
Christian, from a founder's perspective, you've shared in our preparation call your view and perspectives of that there are plenty of factors that actually depend, that the whole fundraising depends on. Can you maybe elaborate a bit more? How did you go about it, and also what are your learnings along the way?
I would say, I mean, my point there that we discussed in our previous call was that I think there is not one right moment where you are ready for VC capital or something like this. I think it really depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the type of company that you are building on one side, but also on the other side, I would say, on the type of founder that you are, on the type of human being that you are, also on the type of person in a socioeconomic context, for example, that you are. So if somebody, for example, already did found 2, 3, 4 very successful companies, so if somebody has some money in his or her pocket, then I would say this person should wait a long time until the person reaches out to VC guys like them. So in that case, I would suggest don't go to VC money as long as possible, since the right moment for you is really when you believe, or when you already have a great company that does a lot of revenue, then you can go to them, bring even more money to the company, and that's the right moment. In a case of a poor ZHW student, it's of course a different story. In that case, I would say, please contact Andrea as soon as possible, because you have no money at all, probably, or most likely. And so in that case, it's of course a different time where it's the right time for VC money. So I would say it's not clear when exactly the right moment for VC money is. It depends on a few factors.
Andreas, you're nodding.
Yeah, I'm agreeing a lot. Like, venture capital is not for everybody, and it's important as a founder to understand that what we're looking for, like where are our strengths and where can we help. And most of the Series A, a bit later stagey venture capitalists, they do need like big exits at the end, and their whole business model is built around that kind of. So if you want to build a stable business that is profitable for you, that can feed 50 employees or something like that, this is possible without venture capital. If you want to build a billion-dollar company and want to do this quick, there's, I would say, no other way, despite absolute extraordinary situations. But in general, there's no other way to do it without venture capital, because you need people that take risks, you need people that help you scale, you need the money, you need know-how, you need the network, and you need capital fast. And if you want to build a billion-dollar company in 7 to 10 years, good luck doing this organically. But I have full respect for every founder who doesn't have this as a target, but wants to build a business for himself, for his family, for his friends and employees. You don't need venture capital for that.
Andrea, you come in fairly late, I'd say that in. What makes a startup truly investable for you? When they finally arrive on your desk with the pitch deck, say, now this is Series A, we want to raise Series A. What makes a startup truly investable for you?
So I think for fundraising, just to also support what Christoph has said, I think you need 3 things if you come and fundraise. First of all, you need a product that you have built that people really love. Build something that people are ready to pay money for. And if you have a product that people are ready to pay money for, you will have traction. Second of all, you need sales skills. You need sales skills as a founder to hire great people who work at your company for very little money. You need sales skills to attract great customers. You need sales skills to attract investors. So that's really something that is something you need to bring to the table. Then the third thing you need is you need a lot of luck. Fundraising with venture capital, I personally believe, can very much depend on random factors. I know very successful companies with great products, which are great salespeople who have a great deck and storyline and everything, and it's very difficult for them to fundraise. But so I do think that there is a random variable there, and a lot of luck that you also need. Now, what makes us really want to invest into you as a founder is if we really feel that there is a perfect founder problem fit. What do I mean with that? We have a very recent example of a founder who came into our offices. His boots were filled with dirt. He came into the offices. He had like that huge dirt line he brought into our office. He was sweating. He was smelling really, really bad. And he was the founder of a company that is in construction and selling in real estate. And this is the perfect person to close deals in the real estate industry. So we are looking really for founders who do understand the different kinds of markets, who speak the language of the customers, and who understand the problem better than anyone else. And if this is a given, we believe that you can become a category leader, and that's when we invest into you.
Christoph, many startups start with Innosuisse coaching and grant funding. What are the most common mistakes that you see? Do you see that? Do you sometimes get a feeling like, I think they could make it or not?
Yeah, one thing that we promote science-based innovation, and as I mentioned before, so many of them are scientists actually that get the funding. And one mistake you see, I said it before, when they are just, they develop the technology, and it's one of those cases, one of those deep tech cases, the typical deep tech case where they have the technology and they don't know actually where exactly they want to apply it. So one thing that we see is that we see that also in the application forms, for example, that they are still scientists. So they also complete the form as a scientist, but what they actually should do is complete it as a business person, completing or sort of writing a business plan. So this is definitely one of the biggest issues. They tend to, when they also come and pitch, they tend to just hover around the technology, explain every detail and so on, but totally miss like where the impact is, who is the exact customer, what burning problem do I solve with that, and how do I do this? So this is definitely one of the bigger problems. But again, this is because they are scientists, and what we definitely not want to do is having scientists kind of try to force them becoming entrepreneurs and so on. So what typically would be the case, or what we also often recommend them then, is to just add people, right? Add complementary skills. And you mentioned it before, sales skills, right? In the end, it's about having the right people that can sell this product. That is essential.
I'm eager to hear Andreas' perspective, but then I would also like to hear the founder's perspective, how you went. So Andreas first, please.
Oh, no, I was just thinking of a board discussion we just had with another startup of ours, where we talked about taking grants. And there was one grant where we discussed, this grant is like for the next 2 years. We are building an AI into an energy and a product, more or less. And I was telling them, okay, in 2 years, we should have this already sold. Like, we need this in like 3 months. So I would advise with many grants to not let this beat you down. Many startups can be super fast, and some that give grants think in other dimensions than what we need as a startup sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. If I can comment there, that's definitely the case. It's actually also sometimes a problem that grants can make. Yeah, they can just slow them down. It's a safe money, non-dilutive, not that much risk, a little bit of reporting, and you can move on. You can develop, right? That's nice, but it's true. They should at some point. It's important to get out of this circle, get out of the lab, and really and just get the money that forces you to have a commercial product, right?
Christian, how did you start building your team?
How I did start building my team.
And when did sales come in?
It's a big question. To be honest, I don't remember. It was a lot of chaos in the beginning. But to add one point when it comes to fundraising, what is important for fundraising, and you talk about traction, about team, etc., etc. In my opinion, by far the most important thing was, at least in our case, but I believe in a lot of other cases as well, was the vision and the greatness of the vision. So if you can say to an investor, hey, look, amigo, my friend, we will build a company that does not do 1 billion, but 10 billion. And if you can add a financial projection that is more or less accurate, and if then the person sees and says, shit, it's true, it can happen, I give a 5% likelihood that it happens, then to be honest, most of the time it was already nice and the guy said, give us a term sheet. In our case, and I believe in also a few other cases. So I think the vision and the Überzeugung, you know, how exactly you can convince the people with the vision is by far more important than a bit of traction that usually, at least in seed, pre-seed, Series A rounds, is not a very great traction usually, I assume. Also the companies where you invest, it's probably not the best traction that you see. But if the vision is nice, I think this is, let's say not nice. If the vision is tremendous, terrific, very big, then I would say 50% of the job, of the fundraising job, is already done. And how you do the team is, I think, something very similar. So part of my team is here. A very great product chief, for example, or the CFO, my co-founder, or a marketing person, where I also believed in the first discussion with these people, if you present a vision where they say, wow, here I want to be part of it, then you find a lot of very good people, and it's not only then about money, salary, grants, etc. Who cares? If they think it's a nice journey, then also there, the vision, I think, is the most relevant point. And at the beginning, it was like this. We shared the vision. A lot of people applied. We picked the people where we believe these are the best ones. And so it went on.
Would you agree with that, Andrea?
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what I meant with you need great sales skills, because you need to sell that story, right? You need to sell your vision that you have and be convincing also for employees, for investors, for customers. I mean, Facebook even had someone painting their offices who he convinced with his vision. So he, instead of taking money, he took shares, which was great for him. So I think if you're very convincing, and I 100% agree, absolutely.
Do you have any red flags? What makes you walk away from a deal immediately?
So I think there is a very fine line between someone who is very convincing and telling a compelling story, and someone who is just not telling the truth or ignoring the truth. And I think that's a red flag if you are, if you're not honest during the investment process. So when we do the due diligence and we find out that something that you might have said during a meeting is not true, that's a complete red flag for us, because it's a people business, it's based on trust, and if we do not have any trust, then we would never invest into a founder.
Yeah, my advice is probably, even if you have a big vision, be a bit humble about it. I had one founder, probably a founder of one of my most successful companies, the billion-dollar company now. He almost was kicked out of the company because he was pitching in London. This was in one of the early rounds, and he was comparing himself to Facebook, Amazon, and all the big ones. And he got declined left and right for this because he was a bit pushy, arrogant about it. So be careful. There's a fine line to walk when you have a big vision to being crazy and not backing it up well enough, I would say. And maybe the second point for us, which we often see, is show that you're coachable, especially for us, where we bring a lot of resources into the company, where we try to help and educate. We like founders that don't think they know everything, but know their weaknesses and want help with certain stuff. I think that's a very good signal for VC that you're still developing, because no seed founder knows everything already. You have quite a development before you and growing with a company that you hopefully build. So this is something we're really looking for.
Yeah.
It's funny, the topic of trust and also this being coachable, that has come up in conversations a couple of times this afternoon. Christian, I am wondering, did you experience the same thing on the other side, from a founder side? Did you experience that collaboration, that marriage between VC and startup? How did you
No, I would say, to be honest and to tell the truth, is that most of the VCs tell you a lot in the beginning, and then they will tell you, we coach you, we help you with go-to-market strategies, we give you tons of introductions, etc. Not only VCs, also private investors, family offices, so we have all types of them on our cap table, and they are not mad at me if I say it, but usually they don't help at all. So that's the truth in that context. But there are, of course, one of them is also here, sitting in the audience. They are really trying to help. They call you every morning, every second morning. The advice is a very bad one, and I would recommend not to listen. But the other morning, it's again a very good advice, where I say founders can learn a lot from investors that probably did found 2, 3, 4, 5 companies and know clearly what is a good behavior in a Series A environment, what is a bad behavior in a Series A environment. And in that case, of course, I think it's very an important skill. I agree. It's a very important skill to be able to listen, to be, or being interested to learn, etc., etc. I think I agree. This is a very good point. I never thought about it, but this is definitely, I believe, a good sign if a founder truly says, "Hey, I'm interested in learning."
And the investor should not be the only one helping you way there.
If you had one piece of actionable advice for a startup looking for funding, what would that be, Andreas?
Maybe one thing I just recognized in the last half year maybe is brag about your success. I mean, I've seen a few startups really aggressively pushing information into like LinkedIn about we reached the 1 million in ARR. 3 months later, we reached 2 million in ARR, and they're popping up everywhere, like internationally. So this is kind of a hack that's just developed in the last 1 or 2 years, since we see, or maybe a big part of this, using like sourcing tools and AI and crawlers to get information. So you can play this game more and more, I would say, that when you push it in the right channels, you're popping up on everybody's radar, and then you have the perfect situation for fundraising. I'm shooting in my own knee here probably because this will build a lot of competition, but this is probably one hack I found in the last year for startups, which works better than I want.
How much fake it till you make it?
Yeah, it's a fine line. What you post should be true.
Andrea, what is it for you if you had a piece of actionable advice? What would that be for a startup looking for funding with EquityPitcher?
So in general, for everyone who is fundraising, I think I discussed before, I would advise you that not everything is dependent on your skills. There is also luck in this whole process of fundraising. But I think in life you always need luck and you need discipline. And without discipline, the luckiest circumstances won't bring you anywhere. So I think this combination, der Erfolg des Tüchtigen, so the ones that are working hard, or das Glück des Tüchtigen, that they are lucky. And if you want to raise capital with EquityPitcher, I think the easiest way is just add me on LinkedIn, write me a short note about yourself, and send me your pitch deck, and then we'll get in contact.
Question, you obviously have industries that you invest in.
Yes.
Do you ever go off the track? Somebody says, hey, but I have got a great idea. I know this is not listed on your website that you invest in this industry or this sector. Would you look at it anyway, or do you go like, no, thank you?
So we generally invest in all industries. We do everything but biotech and pharma, so everything that also needs certification, science backgrounds, we are not the investor. But for everything else, until just recently, we didn't do any agriculture investments. This year alone, we did 2. So we are also changing, and if you have an interesting startup in an interesting industry we haven't been investing in now, I think it's even easier to convince us about this new industry.
How would you approach this?
You mean where we invest and if we go outside of it?
Do you ever look left or right, or not?
I mean, we have a big area with B2B software. So we don't do B2C, and I had to disappoint a few founders here today already. We're not going into this because we just don't have the expertise for this kind of game. But we know B2B software, and there are certainly industries where we're less comfortable with, like health, biotech, maybe space. We're still looking at this quite often. Where we go outside of our comfort zone is sometimes investing a bit earlier or a bit later than we usually do. That is something we do, but when it comes to like our main thesis, we are actually quite strict about it.
Last but not least, Christoph, you support startups with grants. How? When should they approach you? How does it normally work? How, I would like to sort of hear, we've now heard the VCs, how do you play into this game and get them ready?
Yeah, so I mean, we have support. It doesn't matter at what stage you are. We have since 2 years now. That might be the most interesting instrument for the audience here. Is the Startup Innovation Project. So if you're a startup that is not yet on the market, but sort of tries to develop, to finalize its product, and then eventually go to market. For those, we have actually grants in order to help you or to cover R&D activities. Your R&D activities. If you're already on the market, we also have many different or other instruments. The usual innovation project is another one where you would then typically work together with a university and together again. This money would then flow into product development. I think that's important to note. It's always about, so the money that you get is not maybe in other cases where you get money to develop the startup, the business itself, to scale. It's really for R&D work, for work on the product, and obviously the funds are also quite linked to specific activities, and it cannot be used in whatever way you wanna use them.
We've almost reached the end. Christian, I'd like to ask you the last question of this panel. If you, looking back, if you were to start a company again, what would you do differently?
Oh, I mean, a lot of things, of course. Like everybody says, that is not completely stupid. But I would say the biggest difference would be that I would again present a very big vision, but linked to the vision, and it's connected with what you said, I would create a very, very, very clear plan that is based on empirical results of a beta version, that is based on real data that we brought together without funding, so that I present a vision together with data that are indicating, hey, this can be something that does not 10 billion but 100 billion this time. So something like this I would do. So the vision part, the more serious part, the plan part, the more serious part, I would take much more seriously than we did in the beginning. Since without this, I believe you step into some chaos, you step into troubles, you see that all the assumptions that you had, or a lot of the assumptions that you had, unfortunately are not working, and so you have to navigate all the time during the journey, and this I would change. I would use more time in the beginning for a proper plan.
Great last words. I'd like to thank the panelists. These 25, 27 minutes went by really, really quickly. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It was a pleasure having you. And thank you for being here with me and at the Startup Nights. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.